It sounds crazy, all of the pages I have and what I be doing with them, but also like it's a bookstagram. Like who doesn't like to post about books? Like you just, and not to say it's not easy, baby, because they have the strategy. They're
Down.
it's the reason why bookstagram is becoming like, and book talk is becoming like a very top niche. Like they know what they're doing. It's a lot that I'm doing. I have a lot of moments where I'm like, okay girl, you did that, you ate that, and I'm proud of myself. I also have moments where I'm like, WTF, but then I'm like, nobody knows what they're doing. So it's just do you, boo. But yeah, I've just read Homebodies, and it's a book by Tembe Denton Hurst, and I really love this book. Now I picked it up because I saw it all over Insta and I knew it was like a Black author. I love reading Black authors. I probably need to like put that in my bio for my bookstagram, because a lot of the books I talk about are Black authors. Yeah, I was really interested, but what sucked me into the book was she was going through a situation the main character, Mickey, was going through a situation in a corporate environment, and it was making her start to doubt and question herself. It was giving her anxiety. It was making her really unsure of her worth, not only within her career. So even when you talk about, like applying for other jobs, so like going after like the real work environment that you deserve, it was hard for her to get that and to even like think about that, because she was so stuck in the anxiety and all of the fear that had been so deeply embedded into her current role. And baby, when I read this book, I was like immediately yes. Like the first half of this book, I want to say I read this book in like a week. Maybe I probably took like maybe 2-3 days off just because I was probably doing other podcast stuff, but I devoured the first half of this book when she was talking, and I did outline part. What happened is that it got to the point where her fears were like realized, and she was fearful of those things for a reason. Her boss was very much so not interested in her work, not interested in her career progression, not interested in her growth. She would suggest certain things. She would talk about her boss's eyes would like glaze over, and like all that corporate speak. Yeah. Okay, let me get an example. And the book starts with her going to an event. So she works for a magazine, like some hotshot publication in New York. She's from PG County. And so I also love reading books where the author is from where I'm from. They are where I am. Like she was talking about Clinton and the Boulevard and things like that. And I love that. And Busboys and Poets, like I love that. It starts with another Black girl who's at her job, who's kind of like more favored than her. She was telling her like, hey girl, just so you know, my friend said that your boss is interviewing people for your job. And she was like, what? She just, she texts the group chat. It's like a lot of silence. And long story short, she ends up like writing this manifesto about her experience in this like very white space, very limiting space, very like debilitating space. And she publishes it. And in the midst of her publishing it, like nothing happened. The world didn't raise up shouting her name everywhere. She didn't instantly have 1 million job offers. She didn't feel instantly better about her craft as a writer. And during this time, she was also dealing with relationship things to the point where her partner was kind of taking care of her because she was such in a slump. None of those problems were instantly solved. It got to the point where she moved back home to like ground herself, really take time away from her partner, but like be around family, be around people that know her, and give her a sense of community and like unconditional love kinda. And if anything, just like wouldn't ask questions. Of course they ask a ton of questions, but so she took her time to go back home, and in the midst of her going back home, she got into it with her first love. Not even got into it, started this whole thing with her first love, who the next day, after she finally let her get some coochie, sorry, spoiler alert, the girl ended up having a girlfriend and pretty much being like, oh, hey stranger, how are you? Yeah, this is my girlfriend. It was like, I don't know what, like I appreciated that. I didn't expect for the story to go there, but I think it showed like just how messy everything was in her life at that time. Like sometimes you really gotta hit rock bottom, and you gotta like push the boundaries to realize like what you do not want. And so also in the midst of her being home, just like living with her grandparents, like she kind of avoided her father because her father was in a new marriage. And so it was really just like how like family and relationships and work, like so many things can be imperfect, but you can still find the beauty in them, and you can still like learn to love better, even if it's yourself, and valuing yourself better, especially when it comes to these jobs, honey. So anyway, fast forward a few months, something racist happened with the people at her job, with one person at her job, and it led somebody to like start one of those anonymous pages about like all the things, all the racist things that have happened at Bevy, I think it was called. Her manifesto blew up. They reposted it, it blew up. Her best friend was a publicist. I need one of those, like what? And it was just so on time because her best friend was able to say, okay girl, we should have just got this started yesterday, and but okay, we're gonna do it now. Girl got her on the Today Show or the Early Show, something of that variation. Yeah, it was so good. And it also just showed you how like going back to the messiness of relationships. She had this one friend, Elaine, and I'm like, girl, why is you friends with her? Because like, and so long story short, just to show you an example, when everything came out about it, she was like, oh, a white woman, she was like, yeah, like you didn't post this, did you? Like you didn't start the basement. That was the name of like the whistleblowers almost. She's like, you didn't start this, did you? The girl was like, oh, so that's what you call, you haven't called to check on me, you haven't called to see if I'm alright, you just wanted to know if I was like the whistleblower. The girl tried to offer her some DEI job. And yeah, and so she ended up being on the morning show or the Today Show, Early Show. I think she fixed things with her girlfriend. I really don't know. I think her girlfriend Lex knew that she was cheating. Knew that she had cheated because the girl T kept blowing up her phone. It just kind of left a question mark on the end of the book. But I love the book. I love like what it addressed. I like how they talked about corporate culture and just how insane it actually is, and just like inhumane to a certain point. But we do it. It just puts us in like a very like limiting mindset, when really when we are looking at our own talents and our own abilities, like we are so much bigger than a lot of these spaces, and a lot of these people are really like gatekeepers to us actually actualizing a lot of our talent and realizing it for ourselves. And you know, Mickey, she had great ideas, she was a writer. Even her writing that, it was her saying like, hey, I'm about to. And also they hired another black girl in her place, so it also made her question like, and she saw like some of the pictures that she wanted to do, the other black girl was doing them. So it just was like a, where is my worth, what is my worth, like type of thing. Here's one quote that stood out to me. She was like, but what if I'm not? What'd she say? She was like, it's gonna be okay. So this is Lex talking to her. Seriously, it's gonna be okay. You're so fucking talented and you know that. Nina is an idiot. Mickey said, but what if I'm not? What if I'm just okay? Lex said, you're extraordinary. Don't let this low-key racist white woman convince you that you don't have it. You do. But what even is it, and who gets to decide? Nina barely knows what she's doing. So why are you looking for her approval? Isn't it better to get away from her then, even if it isn't your choice? So yeah, I really appreciated this. This was affirming for me in a lot of ways, and just like, yeah. So it details her during her journey through like unemployment, and eventually like we don't know if what she ends up doing at the end, whether she starts working with another large agency or magazine or whatever, or whether she decides to just do this on her own. I think it also raises the point that there is like no easy way, no easy path, no easy journey, but once you decide, you know, things will just open up for you. Like, I'm not going to say that once she decided to do it on her own, it may have gotten 100% better. Whether she decided to be with Lex, which I'm sure, I don't know, but we knew she wasn't going back to T, because that wasn't even an option. Girl, what? T. And her best friend kept telling her like, girl. So yeah, it was just one of those things where she just had to stand the fuck up. I was like, girl, stand up. Why are you weak in the knees for this child? But it was also that thing where it's like she wasn't cool with Lex at the time. And you know, with Lex there was this whole thing of, okay, now my partner is doing really well. Lex ended up getting promoted. She didn't even tell her. She waited until they went to her mother's house. her mother who does not approve of their lesbian relationship, who thinks that her daughter Lex is like taking care of this unemployed person and like who pretty much is not pulling their weight. She doesn't approve of her, and she put her like in that uncomfortable space, and that was like kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back of like their relationship. And yeah, I enjoyed the book. I love the journey, talking about corporate America, kind of like just grounding yourself and how important it is to ground yourself and to surround yourself with people who know you, who love you. She was surrounded by a lot of people that she worked with. And, you know, everybody you work with is not your friend. Like, people may or may not give a fuck about you and what you do. And so it just was some of those just moments where like she would text the group chat, nobody would respond. Like, even when she had posted that in the group chat, nobody responded. They talked about how eventually towards the end of the book, how people like have seen it, but they were careful not to like it. But she was like judging the success of her manifesto on how many people had liked it in that moment. And yeah, you have to surround yourself with people who actually care about you, because it can be a very lonely space if you don't have people who genuinely are concerned about you. So it's 2:27. And that is the Thank Me Later podcast for today. I gave y'all a little bit of everything, question that need answers, the 3 top tips from a Black woman podcaster, and a book review. Where else? But thank me later. Okay, so